Well, I don't know about you guys, but that beautiful photo of the Colosseum it makes me wish I was in Italy right now. Much better than the cloudy day I see in Oregon out my window. Great. Okay. I think that we should dig in. So there's probably going to be a couple more people jumping in as we progress. But thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Lillian Reed and I'm the Director of Institutional Engagement here at IFSA. And I'm really excited that you are here today to hear more about the key features of our IFSA Rome programs, which will definitely impact your advising for your students. We're going to be covering the 5 IFSA Rome options and put a particular emphasis on the semester programs that we have available. But before we jump in with the Rome content, I want to cover a couple housekeeping things. As you've seen, we're recording. So in order to make this available to any advisors who could not attend, and if you don't want to be on camera, please turn off your own camera or else you'll show up on the video recording. We also will have a dedicated time at the end of this session for question and answer, but please feel free to type your questions in the chat box as we go, so you don't have to worry about remembering them by the time we get to the end. And we will definitely make time to go through your questions. If you run into any tech things for hearing or seeing the slides, please chat that in there as well. And some of our engagement team colleagues will be monitoring that. And then lastly, before I turn things over to Francesco, I do want to highlight something that you'll notice throughout this webinar. IFSA has lowered some of our GPA requirements to 2.0 or good academic standing in any location where we solely control the admissions and the academic experience. And by doing this, we feel that we are removing barriers to study abroad for some students who have really historically been left out of study abroad programming in the past and who are very interested in the experience. So if your own campus has a higher GPA requirement, that's higher than our own requirement, we're not going to interfere with how you're doing things on your own campus. This is just for your knowledge. But anybody on my team would be happy to speak with you about our rationale for making this change, either at the end of this webinar or even in individual meetings later on. So now I'll get to what you're waiting for. We are very pleased to introduce, well, I'm very pleased to introduce my colleague, Francesco Burzacca. He is a Ph.D. and he's the resident director of our IFSA Rome programs. And now I'm going to turn it over to Francesco to take us on a journey to Rome.
Thank you, Lillian. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Benvenute and benvenuti. Welcome to Rome, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about IFSA Rome and its new developments. Before I do that, I would like to introduce myself very quickly. I am the resident director of the IFSA Rome program since its inception in fall 2019. My background is in the humanities. I have a Ph.D. in comparative literatures and film, and I have been teaching literature at the Italian University for some years. At the same time, I have been working in study abroad administration for about 15 years. Before joining IFSA, I used to direct a study abroad program in Perugia, a small city in central Italy. But of course, I'm very excited to work in Rome, which really is a city, as I like to tell my students, where you will never finish to see all that it has to offer. Now, I would like to go over the points that I'm going to mention in my presentation. Next slide, please. So today's webinar agenda includes a reminder of the philosophy behind the creation of the IFSA Rome program and a look at the developments that happened over the last year. An overview of our new semester and short-term study abroad options. Some focus on IFSA Rome proprietary courses and co-curricular activities. Some examples of how the students are able to immerse themselves in the local culture and to use the Italian language. We will mention our growing portfolio of academic internships. We will see where the IFSA Rome Center is located, and we will take a look at the student housing and at some aspects of students' daily life in the Eternal City. We will mention some IFSA-sponsored excursions and extracurricular activities. Finally, we'll watch a nice video produced by the students as a class assignment, which turned out to be a cool promotional tool for the program. Of course, there will be time for questions and answers. And if there is anything not clear when I'm talking, please feel free to interrupt me. So let's go to the next slide. As I mentioned already, the IFSA Rome program is very new. Fall 2019 was the inaugural semester. We know that Rome is a big destination for study abroad. And at the same time, a very competitive market, historically focused on some traditional academic areas like classics and archaeological studies, arts, religious studies, being Rome the center of Catholicism, and more recently, food studies. Right from the start, IFSA Rome was created as a proprietary program with a different focus. Our main academic areas are business and social sciences. This is an innovative approach that leverages the fact that beyond its great historical legacy, Rome is also a contemporary European city, a big player in the Italian economy, and of course, a crossroad for international politics. After all, it's the capital of two states, Italy and the Vatican. And I recently learned that it's also the city with the highest number of embassies in the world. Anyway, there is a very modern side to Rome, which is maybe less obvious, but it really complements the more traditional and monumental look we are more familiar with. And I think this fresh look at the city has a lot of potential to attract students. The picture we see here kind of summarizes this idea. On the top left, you can see the building of the IFSA Rome Center, which is located along an important central street, Corso Vittorio Emanuele, just about 100 meters from one of the most Instagrammed Roman spot, Piazza Navona, with its Baroque fountains on the bottom left. This is the students' daily view, so to speak, classic and traditional, but at the same time, our students, as part of their courses and activities, will be familiar with contemporary urban landscapes like the ones you see on the right, the convention center called The Cloud, which recently hosted the G7 summit meeting, or the iconic auditorium concert hall, both designed by famous architects. So, right from the start, IFSA wanted to communicate the idea that Rome really is a creative mix of past and present, tradition and innovation, and the course we launched reflects this. And then, of course, COVID arrived. So the interruption of 2020 pushed everyone to rethink their plans. At IFSA, we took this opportunity to add new courses and to review the structure of our programs by creating new semester and short-term options, which I'm going to explain now. Next slide, please. So first, we'll take a look at our new semester options. The first one is called IFSA Study in Rome. It's a 12-week program, so a bit shorter than usual. To be precise, less than 90 days. And this is not by chance. This way, students don't need to obtain a visa in the US, nor the permit of stay once in Italy. And this means less bureaucracy and some relevant money savings for the students. Students in this program will take all IFSA proprietary courses. And as Lilian anticipated, the GPA has been reduced to 2.0. The second option is called IFSA Study in Rome Plus. This is a more traditional program in length, 15 weeks in the fall, 16 weeks in the spring semester, and it still offers all the IFSA proprietary courses. However, the Grid Plus is that students can take one course taught in English at Louis University, and you can see a picture of the main building on the right. Louis is a prestigious, relatively small private university for business and social sciences, so it aligns perfectly with the IFSA Rome offerings. For an additional fee, students can even take 2 courses at Louis. We are very proud to partner with Louis because it's one of the most recognized Italian universities, regularly top-ranked in Italy and Europe for academic areas like international relations and business, and boasting lots of CEOs and important politicians who study there or teach at Louis. The GPA requirement here is 2.7. Students in the Plus program will also have the chance to enjoy all sorts of co- and extracurricular activities, sport associations, and so on offered by LUIS. And most importantly, they will have the exciting challenge of immersing themselves into the Italian academic system to familiarize with a different teaching style and to study side by side with Italian and international students from all over the world, which is an invaluable experience. Additionally, we are offering short terms, January term, and summer options. And they are all based on proprietary courses, and all of them with a GPA requirement of 2.0. So let's go to the next slide. January in Rome is a 3-week program that allows students to experience Rome before the beginning of their spring semester back in the US. Just like for any short program, there is no need of visa or permit of stay. Students take 1 course of International Political Economy, 3 credits, and enjoy a very full schedule of visits to important political and economic institutions. In the picture on the right, you can see the students who completed the program just a few weeks ago during an excursion on top of the Gianiculum Hill, definitely one of the best views of the city. Summer in Rome offers 1 or 2 sessions of 4 weeks each, from mid-May to mid-June, and from mid-June to mid-July. In each session, students can take 1 course for 3 credits, and they can also combine session 1 with the summer internship program. The summer internship program offers an 8-week summer internship, starting in late May or in late June. Students gain work experience and develop intercultural skills. And there is also a mandatory 1 credit essential Italian course, and the internship seminar, which includes online and in-person components for 6 credits. Next slide. So let's focus now on the courses. The list on the left shows the 13 catalog courses currently on offer at IFSA Rome. In addition to what you see here, we also have Italian language offered at all levels of proficiency, the International Internship Seminar I just mentioned, and starting next fall, the possibility of conducting directed research. Among the most requested courses in past semester, we had forced migration, refugees, and change, certainly a burning topic in today's Europe, and intercultural communication for the global workplace. I would like to especially mention some of the new courses we recently designed, namely Sustainable Tourism and Italian Art, Power, and Influence. Sustainable tourism explores a growing trend of more responsible, eco-friendly ways to visit places that can help preserve nature, customs, and lifestyles. And this course was actually inspired by the COVID-19 lockdown, when we suddenly noticed that for the first time in decades, Venice had no crowds of tourists and the canals showed crystal clear water. This was almost a shock, and this generated a lot of discussions on how mass tourism can be a threat to delicate environments. And so, being Rome such a huge touristic hub, we thought that it would just make sense to study such topics here. The second course I mentioned, Italian Art, Power, and Influence, explores the fascinating concept of political soft power. Basically, how art expressions, including literature, cinema, architecture, and visual arts in general, can be a vehicle for political messages and even play a role in international relations as a form of cultural diplomacy and influence. And again, being in Rome with all of its monuments and museum is just a perfect fit for this subject. Now, the picture on the right leads us to our next point, which is the integration of co-curricular activities within our courses. The picture shows a guest lecture held for the course Forced Migration by Dr. Ilaria Siggia, who is a Senior Operations Officer at the European Asylum Support Office. After the lecture, she and the students had lunch together. And this event was part of a series called Take a Seat at the Table, where our professors invite scholars or people working in course-related industries to talk to the students. And then they continue their discussion at the table. This is a very, we go to a restaurant nearby. This is a very successful initiative because students like to speak directly to people in the field, people who can show also a professional side to the discipline they study. And it's even better to do so informally in front of a pizza, for instance. Let's go to the next slide. This is another slide with some co-curricular activities. We have two more examples. The picture on the left shows the subway station of San Giovanni, a visit which is part of the course Sustainable Tourism. At first, it might sound unusual to visit a subway station, but let me tell you the story. A few years ago, as the station was built, workers discovered some important archaeological remains. And instead of removing them or stopping the construction of the subway, which is so important for Rome, they decided to include them in the project of the station itself by creating a new free museum for all the subway users. Today, passengers that go to work in the center can admire 2,000-year-old sculptures and walls while waiting for their train, and for the same price of the train ticket, which is €1.50. And I thought this is a great example of how Rome combines past and present in creative and sustainable ways. The picture on the right was taken with students of the new course, Politics of Food and Water. As you might know, Rome is a city of water. It has the highest density of fountains in Europe. And this record relies on a network of aqueducts that date back to ancient Rome, and it's still partially used. It's a trekking outside the city in the outskirts, and students learn about sustainable ways to provide waters to millions of people. So let's go to the next slide. Here we have cultural immersion and Italian language. All of the activities at IFSA Rome are designed to promote an active engagement of the students within the local community. And here are some examples. On the top right, you can see our students during the Sustainability Day that we celebrated in fall 21. IFSA Rome partners with Legambiente, a nationwide association that organizes events to promote environmental awareness. Our students here did some gardening activities and planted the first IFSA olive tree in a park, which is very meaningful for the local community because the park was created by volunteers to replace an ugly parking lot and offer some more green to the people who live there. And so being there, they learned about the history of the park. They spoke with the volunteers who are there every afternoon to take care of the plants. And it was really a very moving experience to some extent for the students. Also, in past semesters, we used to organize cooking classes and dinners with Italian families every 2 or 3 weeks. We temporarily stopped this initiative due to COVID restrictions, but we hope to restart very soon. Finally, all of our semester students take at least an essential Italian language course for 1 credit, but more frequently, they opt for a beginning Italian or even a more advanced Italian course for 3 credits, for instance, if they have already had some Italian before. We all know how important the study of the local language is for a deeper intercultural awareness. But what I would like to underline, though, is that we really push our students to use the language as a sort of a toolkit for everyday situations. Shopping, grocery shopping, or maybe talking to Italian friends. And this is possible because they will be in touch with local students. Every semester, a few students of the Italian university serve as interns for IFSA. Every week, usually on Thursdays, they are available to go out with IFSA students, speak with them while in Italian, while having an aperitivo or gelato offered by IFSA. For our students, this is a fantastic excuse to practice Italian and to learn more about Italian culture, but also to cultivate new friendships. In the picture, you see the usual place for these gatherings. It's the Barnum Cafe, which is just behind the corner of the IFSA school building. So, next slide, please. New internships. Internships is a growing trend in study abroad, and we do have many opportunities at IFSA Rome. For instance, Italics magazine is an English language online magazine covering everything Italy related. Our students can contribute to articles and research. Also, the Circolo Mario Mieli is, you can see the logo there, is one of the most important LGBTQI+ association in Rome, organizing cultural events in the city, and they have already requested interns from IFSA for the next appointments in the summer, for instance, the organization of the Rome Gay Pride, which is a big event happening happening in July. Finally, the picture on the right shows Grace, which is one of our Fall 21 students, and she's interning at the museum Mostra di Leonardo, which is a small museum which displays an incredible collection of wooden machines built according to the drawings of Leonardo da Vinci. Grace had different tasks. She was at the front desk, like we see in the picture, welcoming international visitors, but she also took care of the social media profiles of the museum. She even created a promotional video with her iPhone that is now featured on the Facebook page of the museum. And I would like to add that this type of internships are a great opportunity for the students, of course, but also for the partners, especially partners like this one, like a small museum in Rome. There are hundreds of museums in Rome, but many of them are small and they maybe not have the resources to hire an extra employee who takes care of social media profiles. So having the possibility to rely on our students, even for those realities, can be really an important addition. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, here I give you some geographical coordinates about the IFSA Rome Center, which is located in the historic center, sharing space with Italiedea, a language school specialized in teaching Italian to foreign students. This means that our students will also be in touch with other international students living in Rome, and they will meet them in the corridors, they will meet them in the Italian language classrooms, for instance. Some of you might be familiar with the historic center of Rome. We are in the so-called Anza Barocca, which is a Renaissance and Baroque district along the Tiber River. It's the red area in the map. Between the Vatican, that you may recognize on the top left of the map, and the archaeological area of the Roman Forum and the Colosseum, which is not really visible here, but it's on the bottom right. As you can see from the postcards, many famous attractions are all around. Piazza Navona, the Pantheon, the Trevi Fountain, and also the open-air market of Campo de' Fiori, which is a usual gathering for our students looking for some light lunch between classes. As you know, students in Rome don't have a meal plan, so they usually have lunch in the center, maybe a simple Roman pizza bianca or a sandwich, and then they cook at home, usually for dinner. One thing I'm very thankful for is that everything you see here is walking distance, and even student housing, which is located in the 19th century Prati neighborhood, which is the gray area on top of the map, close to the Vatican, is only about 15, maybe 20 minutes walking distance from the school. So on a typical day, you would see our students walk to school. They can also use public transportation, which is quite cheap in Italy in general, but they normally walk because it's short, it's cheaper, and because after all, it's a walk through the historic center of Rome among architectural highlights and elegant shops. And after a few weeks, this is the area students will know best. And in the end, despite Rome is a big city, there is almost the perception of a smaller, more familiar dimension. I wouldn't say a village, but definitely a smaller dimension. Let's go to the next slide. Here we have some pictures of activities students normally do during their free time. Of course, food, no need to mention that in Italy, but also going to the stadium to see the local teams. This was a student in fall 21 who went almost every Sunday to see AC Roma. Jogging or riding a bike in the parks of Rome. Rome is one of the cities in Europe with the largest green areas, maybe along the ancient Via Appia. Classes in Rome are held Monday through Thursday, so students enjoy a long weekend also to visit other Italian cities. And the high-speed train connections are amazing because in 1 hour or maybe one hour and a half, they can be in Florence or Naples. In less than 3 hours, they can be in Milan. The last picture you see on the bottom right is the entrance of one of the student apartment, which brings me to the next slide. We rely on housing companies that specialized in providing apartments for American programs. They do a great job because they are familiar with all the intricacies of assisting American students. The most common issues, regulating air conditioning and heating, using a European washing machine, the lockout service in the middle of the night. These are all things where we can rely on our partners. And the student apartments, as you can see, are really nice, modernly furnished. All apartments are in the Prati neighborhood, which is a lively area, very close to the center and full of restaurants and shops. Next slide, please. I left this slide at the end just because overnight trips are among those things temporarily on hold because of COVID, but hopefully very close to a new start. But we always did classic excursions of one day that no students in Rome can miss. Like, for instance, already during orientation, the visit to the Colosseum and the Roman Forum, and also a guided tour of the architectural highlights in the center of Rome. Before the pandemic, we used to have overnight trips to Naples, Pompeii, Capri, and then also to Tuscany, Florence and Pisa, and Umbria. And they were all both recreational experiences, but also academic ones, with some of the visits which were related to topics studied in class. For instance, we organized a cooking class in an agriturismo, a holiday farm in the Umbrian countryside, because it's fun, but also because it was a way to study innovative examples in the hospitality industry. Next slide, please. I think I actually pass the word now to Lillian to explain something more about the travel grants.
Yeah, thank you, Francesco. So to kind of highlight our fall 2022 and spring 2023 programs, we are doing a $750 travel grant for students to purchase their flights for the IFSA Study in Rome and the IFSA Study in Rome Plus program. So this is something that after students apply to the program and are accepted and confirm their placement, we will connect them with our travel agent and then they can do their ticket booking. So I think this is a really neat thing to be able to promote to get more students to Rome, especially for some of these exciting classes and programs that we have available. So next slide, Marcy. And then this is just a review of application deadlines. So because we teach the majority of the classes, we do have some flexibility with these deadlines. So ours might be a bit later than your own campus deadline. So definitely keep us in mind as you look at options or you have students that are hearing about some programs they've applied to already. If something doesn't work out for them to go to the UK or on a different program, perhaps they want to join our cohort in Rome. So we've got some good deadlines coming up for fall and our summer programs. The summer internship does have a slightly earlier deadline than the standard summer program because Francesco highlighted a bit, but we really try and tailor internships to students' academic and professional interests. So we're gonna want to match them with one of our partner organizations. And so that does take a little time to work with them and help them get their resumes going. And then our January or winter program has a deadline in fall. And we would love to see your students on these programs. So next slide, please.
Yeah, I'll take the word again. This is a student video. Just a few words about it. This is a video originated as a class assignment for a course we offer, which is called Service Excellence in Hospitality and Tourism. And these were our first students in Rome. And the professor asked the students to create a video for an imaginary promotional campaign of IFSA Rome. And the students took it very seriously. And the result is, of course, a student product made with iPhones. So nothing too fancy, but nonetheless, I find it really well made. So I'm happy to show it to you.
The Institute for Study Abroad Rome program has a lot to offer. Living and studying in a new country is a perfect opportunity for self-growth and to discover what the rest of the world has to offer. Immerse yourself in the Italian culture and come and join us to see all the amazing things Rome and the rest of Italy have to offer.
Great.
Well, thanks, Francesco. I get so excited to see students abroad after all the disruption we've had from the pandemic. So I also really love Rome. So that this video always makes me super excited. We're going to open it up for questions. And I also wanted to mention that we're having a student-facing session next week. We've got it on our website. My colleague Marcial dropped the registration details in the link here, but please help promote it to your students if you think that this is a program that they might be interested in. We'll be highlighting all of the IFSA Rome options in that session. I also wanted to give a little shout out if we want to unshare the screen. I've got our admissions counselor for our Rome program. Julissa Dixon is on here. Julissa, if you want to give a little wave. And Julissa is who works with any students who apply to this program and helps them through kind of the application process and gets them ready to be successful, and works quite closely with Francesco. So for any students who have specific needs, whether it's academic support or some health support, she's going to be liaising with different IFSANs to get that going. So let's open it up for questions. We did have a couple questions that were chatted through that we can start with. So there's a couple. There was a question when we were using the term proprietary, and thanks for flagging that. So when we talk about proprietary classes at IFSA, these are classes that IFSA has designed. And so we partner with different faculty across the US to design courses, and they go through the faculty review process at Butler University. But if we've designed the class and we kind of control the admissions process for the program, we consider it a proprietary program. So it's just specific to IFSA and really special to us. So thanks for asking that question. That's a really good one. Another question was about the levels of Italian language that can be accommodated. So our partner institution is able to work with students at all levels. And we've had students this past who decided to opt into it. So Francesco, do you want to talk about those students?
Yeah, we as of now, we had students who were beginners, and most of them decided to take the longer and more difficult course, beginning Italian instead of essential Italian, 3 credits instead of 1, and a course that goes along for the whole semester. And I'm very happy about that because it shows that they were really interested in the study of the language. At the same time, if we have students who have already some background in Italian language, they can find the class they need, because the school that we partner with, Italidea, they offer courses at any level. And also the additional thing that I think is also a plus is that students oftentimes will be in mixed classes with other international students who are learning Italian. And so this creates more variety to the daily life in the classroom.
Great. So one of the other questions that came through is about students who want to take classes at Luis, who are partner institution in Rome. So these would be students on the IFSA Study in Rome Plus program. Is the deadline different? No, our deadline is still May 1st for the fall program. It's November 1st for spring. And how available are the courses? So that's a great one for you to jump in with, Francesco, specific to Luis.
Yeah, we have the Luis courses in our system in the chart function. And so it's possible for the students to look through them and see what it's available. If I remember correctly, we have more than 90 courses taught in English every semester in the areas I mentioned before, mostly international relations, politics, business, economy, that are available to our students. And if students are already, in some cases, this might be possible, already proficient enough in Italian, they would also have access to the courses taught in Italian. So which opens a whole new world of other courses which might be available. So for now, we have just listed the ones in English in chart, but upon request, we can look into also the Italian offerings.
All right, while you are all thinking of some of your other burning questions about Rome, Julissa, I was wondering if you could walk us through the application process.
Okay, would you like me to maybe share my screen, or is it okay if I just talk about it?
Just talk about it.
Okay, so our application process happens in phases. The students will first start by introducing their address, their university information, what their standing will be in the coming year that they're applying to. Then they'll also complete a class interest form, which will just be a form that they fill out with the classes that they're interested in taking. For most programs, it's not set in stone until scheduling is confirmed. And then they'll also have program approval, which is where you all will come in. Typically, it happens automatically. Other times, it does take some time. And I'm trying to think. For our internships, they do have to include a resume and an internship interest form. So they're just writing down what things that they're interested in, their academic or career history. And then once their information is submitted, because it's through IFSA, I usually give a response within 3 days. And during that period, they'll have a pre-acceptance phase. So there's more app items that open up to them. A lot of it is like initial and sign or COVID related material, like vaccination status, whether they've had their booster or not. And then once they're accepted, they'll have another set of app items to complete. But again, a lot of it's just like sign or initial and things like that. And there's also a housing form that will be sent to Francesco so that he'll be able to place the students in their appropriate housing.
What I think is super exciting is that when the students have a complete application with us, the turnaround time for their admissions decision is pretty quick. So that can be quite helpful if you have some students who are really nervous about moving forward with their plans for fall or spring, or any of our other programs, actually.
I actually just remembered one more thing. Another good thing is that we do accept unofficial transcripts. So they won't have to worry about getting their transcript sent from a third-party provider or from the university. They could take a screenshot of their transcript and upload it that way. But I'm not sure if that's the same for the Plus program. So sorry if I misspoke.
That's all right. All of it's laid out for the students in the IFSA application portal. And then you can see pieces of it in the IFSA advisor portal as well. Francesco, there was a request for you to talk about how students have been doing dealing with kind of daily life amidst the pandemic and whether people are masking in Italy and what that looks like.
Yeah, well, that's there was really an interesting experience in the fall semester and also recently in January. As you might know, things are going well in Italy, beside the fact that we were the first country hit by the pandemic. And so at the beginning, of course, we suffered a lot in 2020. But then the implementation of safety measures like mask and distancing and all the other things we need to do has been very successful. And the vaccination campaign has been extremely successful. I think as of today, 86% of the whole Italian population is fully vaccinated, and about 60% has already the third dose, which was a great advantage in mitigating the effects of the recent waves, Omicron and Delta before. So it was possible to conduct a normal life, just paying attention to the rules. And surprisingly, first of all, for the students, I have to say, Italians are very respectful of those norms. So normally in the streets, you won't find people without the mask until a few days ago, because the mandatory mask outside in the streets was something that was mandatory until February 11, if I'm correct. So up to that moment, you would really see all the people with masks around. We still wear masks inside, or if there is a gathering outside, we still have to wear the masks. We do follow all the protocols. And it's very easy for the students also to comply with requirements, like, for instance, taking a test. Before going back to the States, they need to take a test because it's now requested by the US authorities. The pharmacies in the Prati neighborhood, there are so many, 2 minutes from where the students live, and the students had just to go there. Maybe there was 5 minutes to wait and they could get their test done. And within 2 hours, they would know the results. So we had parents visiting the students with no problems at all. They came, they did all the procedures just like the students did, and it was very easy for them. We request that all the students have are fully vaccinated, and possibly also they have the third dose of vaccine before coming to Italy, just because with the third dose, everything is so much easier. The third dose gives us what we call the super green pass, which is basically a documentation that allows you to have a social life in every aspect. So you can access any place I can access. You can go to school without any limitation. You can you can participate in events. You can go to the theater, but you need to have the third dose, and that's why it's really important to get it before coming to Italy. I know that in some cases it's also possible to get the third dose while in Italy, but it's a lengthy process. So I recommend as much as possible to avoid that and to get it in the States. So once students arrive, they don't have to worry about it.
Thanks, Francesco. And I know our health and safety team right now is making their assessment of whether or not we will require boosters moving forward for our summer and fall programs. So more information on that is forthcoming. And you're all welcome to unmute yourselves and ask a question that way. Yeah. All right, well, I haven't seen any other questions come through. I think we'll leave it at this. So if you have other questions about the IFSA Rome program offering, please feel free to reach out to your IFSA contact or send a message through our general website and you'll get a reply from the engagement team or Francesco or even Julissa. And if you have students that are interested in learning more about the program itself, please send them our way. We're happy to talk with them about this option and make sure that they find the right study abroad experience that is perfect to help them meet their own goals. So again, a little shout out. We've got the student info session next week. I hope we will route some students to attend. And we would just love to see more and more of your students on these great Rome programs. I will just share that I was an anthropology and archaeology focused student. And so anytime that Francesco talks about all of the ancient sites next to the contemporary sites in Italy, I get so excited for the thought of students getting to see these things that are thousands of years old next to all the modern stuff. So it's such a neat way to learn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to all of you for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good night, Francesco.
Thanks. Have a good day.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Francesco. That was great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.